You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to the program. Joining me now, Kristi Putnam. She is the Secretary for the Department of Human Services.
Yes,
Janet Mann, she is the State Medicaid Director, and she has a longer title. It's a Deputy
Secretary of Health and State Medicaid Director.
No, that's not going to fit on the line, okay?
It's not.
So,
State Medicaid Director is great.
all right. I'm going to begin with May and June figures that we have so far that you guys have released publicly. 140,000 total cases closed, and I'm rounding off here, disenrolled. About 78,000 disenrolled between May and June. Where do we stand today on what I call disenrollment, unwinding, redetermination? You can pick the word that you prefer to call it there.
Right.
Where do we stand with that Medicaid expansion, cleanup of the rolls?
So we are almost halfway through our 6-month timeline.
Right.
We are working every day on renewals and disenrollments. So we are redoing the redeterminations of the extended population and our regular renewals at the same time. So we will see new numbers later in July when we report them to CMS.
Are things tracking how you felt they would track? I mean, you had some idea of what to expect.
We do feel that they are tracking. We chose to do our extended category first with our regular renewals because we had worked through the 3-year pandemic on redeterminations, and if we determined that they would most likely be ineligible, we put them in the extended category. So we started with those categories first to really work on right-sizing our population.
How does the process work? Because one of the brunts of the criticism that you guys have received, I know you're not deaf to this point, so
Right.
Is failure to return forms. I know you guys have done a tremendous amount of outreach. I know there's been a tremendous amount of follow-up, and people just sometimes don't know what's coming at them, sort of. So.
Well, yes and no. We have done a great deal of outreach, and I want Janet to speak to that because she and her team have been extraordinary in their efforts to reach out to people. But it's a lengthy process that starts either 90 days or 120 days with the notification going out initially, and then there's a series of follow-ups. But what I want to hit on, and then I want Janet to provide the details on the outreach, is this also requires participation by the individuals who are receiving services. So because we started with the category of individuals who'd had their Medicaid coverage extended, that's going to have the higher number of people who are probably no longer eligible because they've been extended. Many of them have been employed since then. They may have increased in their income.
Why did you start with that group?
Well, those are the ones that were continuously eligible, and so at some point we determined that they may not be eligible, and so it's the group that we could easily reach out to and get information back from. But if you know you're not eligible, you know, if I get a piece of mail offering me something or providing some services that I know I'm not eligible for, I'm probably not going to take the time to fill that out and send it back because I know I'm not eligible.
Right.
And so there seems to be a great deal of fabricated outrage out there over these high levels of procedural disenrollments, which in fact are really just part of returning to normal operations and normal eligibility rules by CMS.
Right. I mean, I get the frustration. I mean, because you have done this outreach for such a long period of time. You can't connect with someone. You don't know where they are. There's no trail really to follow on some of them. But have you guys given thought, and you may be doing this, I'm just not aware of it, but it seems to me that the point of entry of someone into the healthcare system, they go to the emergency room, they go to their primary care physician. Is there a process at that point of entry into the system to determine? Because that's when I would think most people would realize, I don't have health insurance.
Yes, there
is a process when they seek ER care or urgent care, and there's also some options for 90 or 30-day retroactive eligibility at the same time. But you know, the team has spent 15 months preparing for this. We have in 3 main areas. We've worked with beneficiaries on notifications through mail, social media, email, text, alerts. We worked with providers and different stakeholders in having different meetings and getting the information out. We still hold a weekly provider stakeholder call. Anyone is welcome to attend to ask questions and work with team members. But then we spend a great deal amount of time internally at DHS working on our systems, working on our teams, making sure we had enough support. and not just with the caseworkers, but also with our program staff.
Do the stakeholders who are critical of the process because it is kicking off too many people in their estimation, do they understand the depths and the lengths of what's gone to, and why is that not satisfactory? Why do they want more time when there's been a lot of time?
We have put the processes out there. We have shared absolutely everything that we've done, and we've asked for a lot of input into how else can we reach people. You know, I think that there's a larger conversation behind the reaction, the anger, the outcry, so to speak, over the disenrollments, because there are many people who believe that we should have Medicaid for all, and that's simply not where we are. That's not the law, and that's simply not where we are. So,
and there's always concern when children come off the rolls, and so I think some of the criticism has been you're removing too many children. But I would like to also note that in the past couple of years, we've had 2 minimum wage hike increases in the state of Arkansas, and we have record low unemployment at 2.7% in May. Those reasons, along with our MAGI eligibility process, people are incoming out. And so I think the 3 biggest reasons we see for disenrollments is they don't return that form because sometimes they don't think they're eligible, or if they return the pre-populated form and we ask for additional information, they don't supply it. And then the 3rd reason is income out. They know that they are over the limit. And so we even if they do not return it timely, and then something occurs and they need the coverage, that's why we have the 30 or the 90-day retroactive eligibility.
Yeah. And 1 child uninsured is too many, but Arkansas has a pretty low rate of lacking insurance for children. It's under 6%, if I've seen the latest statistics.
It is low, but I don't know the exact statistic.
It's close to that, I'm pretty certain.
Right.
So.
And the automatic conclusion that when someone moves off of Medicaid that they are uninsured is one of the other misconceptions, because there are eligibility through employers, there's eligibility through the federal marketplace, and part of our process has been to enhance the ways that we're trying to connect individuals to their other coverages.
All right, I'm going to switch gears on you here. We're going to talk about this waiver that you all have sent to the feds for the Medicaid expansion program to have a work component to it. If they don't work, go to school, or volunteer time, they will, I'm shortening this down considerably, then they might be eligible for regular Medicaid. Where does that stand right now? What's the timeline for expectations of when you might hear something back on the waiver request?
Well, I don't know that we can speak to the timeline about when we'll hear back, because it is CMS, and we appreciate their partnership, but they have their processes too.
2027 maybe?
We have submitted it, and they have acknowledged receipt. And
yes, they have sent the email that they have accepted it, and they have reviewed it for what they call completeness. So therefore, it can go on to the demonstration office for full review. And we are awaiting their question and answers.
Yeah.
And that begins the negotiations, where they ask us a list of questions and we come back with how we're planning to address what they're concerned about.
Well, one of an argument that is being made in that whole debate, depending on what side of the equation you're kind of on that, is that able-bodied people ought to be working in Arkansas. I don't think anybody disputes that, to be honest with you. I think everybody would say able-bodied people that are capable of working should be working. But you mentioned earlier, we've got 2.7% unemployment in this state. There aren't a lot of people not working that could be working, so.
That number is of people who are engaged in the marketplace looking for work.
Right.
And so there often is missed the number of individuals who have simply stopped looking for work, don't wish to pursue avenues that will lead them to work. So they're not counted in that percentage.
I understand that, the labor force participation rate. Will your waiver address those people not in that labor force?
That is one of the goals.
Yes.
And the other goal is, if you are working and you would like some additional training, additional opportunities to grow in your either current position or even find a new position, we feel that this waiver can create that opportunity.
All right, Janet, Kristi, I got to wrap it up there. They're speaking in my ear that says our time is up. Thank you so much both for being here. Good to see you.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Good to see you too. Thanks for the chance.
All right. We'll be back with more right after this.